Have you seen this video? Everyone's talking about it. Gospel star Marvin Sapp.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's wild.
I have, yeah. It's making the rounds for sure.
Yeah, so we're going to take a deep dive today into this whole controversy. It all started at a Pentecostal convention in Baltimore this past July, actually, 2024.
It's interesting how something that happened in a church setting has become this huge internet thing, right? Like different worlds colliding.
It is, yeah. It's like everyone's got an opinion on it, regardless of whether they know anything about church conventions or gospel music, for that matter. So we've got a bunch of articles here. We've got USA Today, People, the New York Post.
A lot of different angles to look at.
Yeah, and we want to, cut through all the noise, all the social media stuff.
Right.
Give you the full picture, like what actually happened, why everyone's freaking out, and what Marvin Sapp himself is saying about it all.
So the question for you right off the bat is, how do we interpret actions that are meant for one context, in this case, a church, when they're suddenly blasted out to the whole world online?
Exactly, and this video is, well, it's pretty straightforward in what it shows.
Okay.
So it's Marvin Sapp. He's speaking at the 109th Pentecostal Assemblies for the World Convention in Baltimore, Maryland. July 2024. There are about 1,000 people there in person.
Wow.
Yeah, and another 1,000 or so watching online. And he basically asks everyone, both those who are there and those watching online, to donate $20 each.
So he's looking to raise some serious money then. What's he saying he needs it for?
Well, he wants to hit $40,000.
Okay, so a pretty specific goal.
Right. But then he says something that really gets people talking. He tells the ushers to close the doors, and he repeats it, like several times.
Oh, close the doors. That's kind of intense. That's the part everyone is stuck on, right? It definitely makes you wonder if people felt pressured.
Oh, absolutely. And he doesn't stop there. He then turns to the preachers who are there and asks them to each give $100. And he makes this statement: giving is worship.
So you have the money request, the closed doors, and then this theological layer on top of it all. It's like he's linking giving money directly to their faith.
Yeah.
A lot to unpack there.
Yeah. Well, you can imagine the internet explodes. Criticism, jokes, memes, you name it. A lot of people are really questioning his methods.
Makes sense. The whole close the doors thing, especially in a society where we value freedom so much. If you feel like your freedom is being restricted, especially when someone's asking for money, you're going to push back.
Exactly. It's like people are comparing it to being held hostage. There's this one comment on X, someone said, Marvin's getting self-peeped if he thinks he can hold people hostage for money.
Oof. Yeah, and I'm sure his success as a gospel artist isn't helping matters. People probably assume he's already wealthy.
Right. Like, where's all that never would have made it money going? Someone even twisted that song title and wrote, never would have made it.
I saw that one. Haha.
It's kind of funny, but also, a lot of people are seriously angry, calling it a shakedown, false prophet, all that. Someone even said they would have called 911.
Wow. False prophet.
Yeah.
That's a heavy accusation. It's like they're saying he's using his position to exploit people. And, the close the doors thing just fuels that whole narrative of being trapped.
Yeah, and the memes are everywhere. Kevin Stage did this whole skit about it, like a really aggressive usher demanding cash before you can leave.
Yeah, saw that one. Like, memes can be so powerful, they take something complex, condense it into a funny image, and then boom, it goes viral, shaping the narrative. That's how we process things these days, I guess.
Now, Marvin Sapp didn't just stay silent through all this. He went on Facebook on Wednesday, March 26, 2025.
Good, so he's offering his side of this story.
Yeah, and he says, his goal was never to hold anyone hostage. He says fundraising is just part of his job, part of being a minister at these conventions.
Okay, so he's saying it's normal, expected even.
Exactly. He calls it stewardship, not manipulation.
Interesting word choice. Stewardship. Like
Yeah.
He's a caretaker of something bigger than himself.
Yeah, and then he talks about the timing of the offering. He says it's a vulnerable time. They're handling a lot of cash. Security's on high alert.
Yeah, I can see that. When you're dealing with large sums of money, especially in a crowded setting, you don't want chaos. Makes sense to keep things controlled.
So he's saying that the close the doors thing was about safety and respect, not control.
Okay.
And he says, he gave more than $20 that night.
Oh, so he's putting his money where his mouth is.
Yeah, and he brings up the Bible, 1 Chronicles 29. It's about King David asking people to give to build the temple.
Right. And the point there is that God didn't need the money, but the giving was an act of devotion, a way for the people to show their commitment.
Exactly. So he's saying, look, asking for specific amounts isn't unbiblical. It's not manipulation. He wants people to understand the bigger picture, the movement behind the moment, as he puts it.
So he's pushing back against the accusations, saying it's a misinterpretation, a lack of understanding of the church context.
Yeah, and that's something we need to think about, right? It's important to understand where this all took place. Black churches have a long tradition of tithes and donations.
Absolutely. It's part of their culture, their history. We
Yeah.
can't just impose our own interpretations without understanding that context.
And Marvin Sapp, he's not just some local pastor. He's a Grammy-nominated gospel star.
Right, so there's a level of fame, of public scrutiny that comes with that. His actions are going to be seen through a different lens.
The New York Post even mentioned that he performed at Diddy's birthday party back in 2019.
Oh, wow, interesting. So he's rubbing shoulders with celebrities.
Yeah, and get this, the song he sang was Never Would Have Made It.
Huh, the irony.
Right. And then you've got athletes like DJ Reed and Dwight Gooden. They've talked about how much his music means to them. So his influence goes way beyond the church walls.
Yeah, that's important to note. He's got this platform, this reach that magnifies everything he does.
Another thing to consider is the timing. The event was July 2024, but the video went viral in March 2025.
The internet time machine strikes again.
Right. It's like something about the current climate, maybe something that's going on now, made this video resonate in a way it didn't back then.
It's how things go viral these days.
Right.
The context shifts, the algorithm picks it up, and boom, it's everywhere.
And, we have to talk about the headlines. Some of them were pretty strong. The New York Post called it a hostage situation.
Oof, yeah, that word carries a lot of weight. It instantly frames the whole thing in a negative light.
So you've got these two sides. On the one hand, you have people who see the closed doors, the demand for money, and they think, this is wrong, this is manipulative, maybe even illegal.
It goes against their values, right? Freedom of choice, not being pressured into giving money, especially in a religious setting.
Right, and then you have Marvin Sapp, who says, no, this is about safety, respect, stewardship. It's about understanding the church context.
So it really comes down to different perspectives, different ways of seeing the same event.
Exactly. And for you, the listener, what stands out to you? What does this whole thing say about how we interpret things, especially across different cultures and contexts?
It's a really interesting case study in how actions can be perceived so differently. What's normal in one setting can be seen as completely unacceptable in another.
So, to recap, you've got Marvin Sapp, July 2024, asking for donations, closing the doors, video resurfaces in March 2025, internet goes crazy, lots of criticism.
And then you have his response, focusing on safety, respect, and stewardship.
And this leaves us with a lot to think about. Faith, fundraising, public perception in the digital age. It's complicated.
It really is. It makes you wonder, how do religious leaders navigate this new world where everything is recorded, everything can go viral? It's a whole new set of challenges.
What does it mean to give? What's the role of a leader in asking for money? And how do we avoid these kinds of misunderstandings when a moment gets taken out of context and blown up online?
Lots to ponder. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.